introduce myself first. I'm Leroy Hurt and started this Nordic walking groups on Facebook because of my enthusiasm for Nordic walking. And I wanted to give instructors and people with less experience time to ability to connect with each other. And I've already noticed some instructors have been able to get some new people, which is really good. And I got certified with the American Nordic Walking Association, and so continuing to teach it and really enjoying it. Let me call on Vicky. You're next on my screen.
Thanks, Leroy. Hello, Leroy. Hello, Elaine. Hello, everyone that's listening. My name's Vicky Welsh. I'm an instructor in the UK from Bristol. In fact, I'm a national trainer for the International Nordic Walking Federation. I've been teaching Nordic walking for nearly 13 years now. I've written a book on Nordic walking called Let's Walk Nordic. Currently, I'm involved in community programs, developing community programs for particularly people in Bristol who aren't very visible in our parks and green spaces. So that's particularly people who are visibly minority ethnic in Bristol. So I'm doing a lot of work with coaching and mentoring instructors to deliver classes in the Bristol area.
Great, thank you. Elaine?
Well, I'm just recently in December became certified as a basic Nordic walking instructor for ANWA. Leroy was my sponsor and helper. I don't know if that's what you call it, but rather we had the choice with ANWA of going to a live workshop, which I think is out in California, pretty far from Tennessee, or they did allow you to take lessons from one of the trainers. I don't know if you call yourself a master trainer, whatever they call it, and professional trainer. And so I went to Leroy for that and enjoyed it very much. And right now I'm just getting started. My basic goal is that I realize that people in my age group, which is about 73, or give or take 10 years, maybe 15, I don't know, I had 15, that's pretty old. But at any rate, my major goal is to alleviate the isolation that seniors very frequently feel, because it reaches the point that it becomes increasingly harder to participate, like in running, bicycling, and even church, where in the days of COVID and the flu, the way I got the flu is I went to a church New Year's event, and it was very close and kind of like, you stood around and talked, and I enjoyed it very much. And I do believe that is where I came home with the flu. And so this would give senior citizens a way to exercise without going to the gym, and a way to fellowship. So that would be my major goal. And I'm all excited about getting started.
Good, great, thanks. Well, we're glad you all are here. And we did get a couple of questions that will really facilitate this conversation format from Ann Blair Schnur in our group. And one question she had was, what are the best poles to buy? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, well, shall I dip in first? So, I mean, I have personally about 12 different types of poles that I use. And each time a new pole comes out, I generally buy it to see whether, what it feels like. The best type of poles depends on a number of factors. So if you're a beginner, then an adjustable pole is often quite useful, because as you get more proficient, in my experience, and Leroy, please dip in here as well, but as people get more proficient, then often they start walking with better technique, and they often feel taller because they're walking with better posture. So they'll want to lengthen their poles a bit. So I find that, if you're a beginner and it also means that you can share your poles with other people, they're easier to sell on if you decide that Nordic walking is not for you. I personally use a fixed pole that's 100% carbon, because I get no vibration up the pole shaft. I know my optimum height for Nordic walking in terms of the pole height is 115 centimeters, and it just gives me a fantastic base. Nothing really goes wrong with a fixed length pole, and it feels very secure and very powerful. I also have folding poles for traveling as well, and they're fantastic too.
Great. Elaine, did you have any thoughts from your
The
experience?
thought on I really agree with Vicky about the adjustable poles when you're starting out, because Leroy, you probably noticed that I had to adjust them in the middle of the lesson, because I discovered that the reason I wasn't able to get the poles to swing back far enough is they were really a little short, and it really felt more comfortable making them go back further when I adjusted them just a little bit. And when I got home, I adjusted them a little bit more, and now it's much easier to get the kind of motion that is desirable, and it's easier with my posture. And so I agree with that. The poles that I'm currently walking with are the Leki carbon adjustable, the newer ones that have the shark thing on them. I don't know what they're called. I think maybe they just call them shark. I don't know. But anyway, I like those because they don't vibrate very much and they feel solid. I do have a question though, and that is that sometimes I notice, like if I walk on the pavement after rain, that those boots slip. Is that a problem that other people had, and how do you solve it?
That's a good question. Whenever I've experienced slippage, it really depends. It's really been the kind of surface that I was walking on. So if I'm walking on concrete sidewalks or asphalt, I really don't have any problem with slipping with the rubber boots. If I'm walking on aggregate, which is a popular surface, and it looks like little pebbles that are down there, that's when it starts to slip. And depending on how safe you think you feel, I like to just get out onto the road. Since I walk in a neighborhood at times, I like to just get out on the road and walk on the asphalt, and I don't have any problem with the boots slipping. And or vice versa, if there's grass, you could step off to the side, take the boots off, and then walk on the grass. And hopefully you won't be walking across people's lawns and then they'll get mad at you or some such thing. In our area, there's some easement where there's grass on the roadside, so you don't have to walk on people's lawns, and you might walk on the grass that way.
It might be because the boots that I put on it are relatively new. I don't know what aggregate is. I know that the 2-mile walking trail goes around the park that I walk at. That might be aggregate. I don't know how to tell whether it's asphalt or aggregate.
Yeah, if it looks kind of pebbly, like somebody has thrown a bunch of pebbles down, that's kind of what aggregate looks like, as opposed to the asphalt or concrete sidewalks.
Okay, it might be because the boots are rather new, and I just need to let them break in a little bit more.
So just dipping in here, I don't think a new, we call them paws in the UK. I don't think a new asphalt paw should make the difference whether it slips or not. Leroy, totally agree with you that if you've got a surface that is sort of slightly crumbly on the top, then you're more inclined to have slippage with the paw, with the boot. The advice that I tend to give walkers who are wanting to use the boot, so walk on asphalt or tarmac, as we call it in this country, is firstly, you have to push harder down through the pole. You have to push down more firmly.
Okay.
And that is the key, because most people think they have to push down less hard, but actually you need to do the reverse. Push down more firmly and keep that downward pressure as as your arm swings back, and you'll find less slippage. It's actually a fantastic core workout. So if you're really wanting to strengthen your core muscles and balance, then walking on tarmac's fantastic for that. You won't be able to swing back as far behind your body as you would do if you had the paws off and you had the tips being able to bite into the ground, just because there comes to a point once your arm is swung behind your body where the paw doesn't grip anymore. Thirdly, you can actually get stickier paws with the Leki poles, as we call them in this country, or Leki, do you call them in the US? I don't know. But
it's generally called Leki, right?
Leki, okay. So with the Leki poles, there is only I think and certainly in the UK, there's only one type of paw or boot that you can buy. But with other make of poles, so we have another brand called Exel, and they have different types of paw, and one of them is a lot stickier than the other. So you could possibly try some different boots on your paw if you carry on having problems.
Very good answer. Thank you. That really helps.
Let's go back to the polls for a minute, and I have the chat box open. And how about just sharing brands that you have personal experience with that are useful, and I'll type them in chat, and then that way I'll share it out. Basically, people are always interested in what brands to get, and there are reputable makers out there, and there are some that don't have the greatest polls, and I'm assuming that instructors have experience with really solid brands, and I can put them out there. The ones that I've had personal experience with are York Nordic, and Leki, and Nordixx. It's a Canadian firm, and I've had good success with those. How about you all?
I got the Leki Traveler pole that's adjustable, and I've got several sets of poles because some of them I got from eBay. Like I have a set of instructor poles like yours, Leroy, that I got from eBay. It's my second favorite, but I like the ones that are have the sharks on the top, but and then I have a bunch of just poles that they're kind of off-brand poles, but they work. I guess they're made in Germany, though. I'm not sure what they are, but I got them to share with people who would maybe be a person that I might be given a lesson, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so obviously it depends. I think different countries have different availability, and I would say in the UK we've got quite limited availability, which is a shame. Probably the top two brands are Leki. I like the Leki poles. I think Leki are quite innovative and are pushing forward the Nordic walking pole design, particularly with the folding poles, which cross over as trail running poles. So I think they're continuing to invest in Nordic walking poles. The shark tooth strap that you're talking about, Elaine, I'm mixed about that. I think that when it works smoothly, it's excellent, but often it's quite fat and it's difficult for participants to actually slide the little loop cord off the shark's tooth. Incidentally, if that does happen, the top tip is to slightly shave with a sharp knife or blade, shave a little bit of the tooth off if that is happening to anybody. And then it slides up and down more easily.
Oh,
but
okay.
in this country, I would say that we have another brand which it was the original Nordic walking brand. Actually, it came from Finland and it was called the Exel Nordic walking pole. That the fixed length, 100% carbon fixed length Exel Nordic walking pole is outstanding. We also have Gabel or Gabel, Gabel, which is an Italian brand. That's a slightly lower, it's a cheaper brand. So it's better as a budget pole. And then we also have Fizan, Fizan, which is another Italian brand, which is also slightly, lower quality. I love Swix. I don't know whether anybody has used those, but we can't get them in the UK. I think it's a German or Austrian.
How did you spell the previous one? F-I-S-A-N?
Fizan. I'll pop it in the chat. But I don't buy those. So it's just that they're available in this country. They're just a lower quality, and therefore cheaper.
Of the ones that I mentioned, York Nordic is a moderately priced set of poles. Nordixx from Canada is a little pricier than York Nordic, not much, but I still call it moderately priced. And then Leki is a little more premium priced, but it's I've had really great success with it and pretty much use it the most. But the others are very good poles as well. You can't go wrong with them.
I have Fizan hiking poles, which I use for backpacking. So I'm a little bit familiar with that. And my friend Tom has the Nordixx, and he's just an absolute beginner and doesn't really have the okay from his doctor to do Nordic walking. So we're having to wait a little bit.
Before we move on, there's one other question, and we can probably tackle that question and then call it a day. I don't want to keep you all too long. But before I move on, I want to make sure that we have a disclaimer here that we're not endorsing any particular pole, any particular brands. We're simply sharing what we've had experience with and some impressions and thoughts. So whoever watches this video, be assured that there are no endorsements here. We're just sharing our experiences. Okay. Another question is, what is the best instruction video? What have you come across?
Well, okay. So I found that there is a paucity of Nordic walking instruction videos, and in fact, there really aren't very many good books that are out there on Nordic walking that I think are clear and accessible. And so that's why I wrote the book, and to go with it, I actually did put a few videos together. So I don't really want to promote those at all. But the reason I did them was because I felt that there are some nice instruction videos out there. There are. I'm not sure they're from the UK. I think they might be maybe American. I can't even remember now. So anyway, I've just added a couple in there that kind of go alongside the book, because I just talk about posture, I talk about breathing, I talk about walking action, and I talk about the correct use of poles. And for me, there are 4 golden rules when it comes to the correct use of poles. The first is making sure you have the correct height for your ability and general health conditions. The second is making sure that you angle the poles back. The third is making sure that you swing from your shoulder. Your arm swing is a full arm swing from the shoulder, not elbow hinging. And
Right.
the fourth is that you use the straps correctly. And that's the last two are big issues for most people, but you need to propel yourself, push through the strap. That's the point of having them. So if there's a video out there that says all those things, particularly, you know, that shows you how to push through the strap properly, then that's going to be a good video in my book.
Okay. Good. The one set of videos that I've encountered that are well done, and I think they cover the kinds of things, Vicky, that you mentioned. It's one put out by this group called Sikana, Sikana, and it's when you do a YouTube search, it is I think you just do Sikana Nordic Walking.
So how do you spell it again? I'll just I've not come across it on
Yeah,
our, so.
I'll be posted in chat here, but
Okay.
it's Sikana.
Okay. Sikana.
But Vicky, feel free to chat, put the information about your book and your videos in the chat so that we have them, and then
Oh yes.
when I think you've already posted it in the group, but when I post the videos at some point, go ahead and reply back and share that stuff, because I'm interested in promoting the knowledge the instructors are providing and letting people, getting it out there. So this is one way to do it.
Well, you know, I mean, thank you. I'm not. Thank you. I'm not here because I'm here because I love Nordic walking. I want more people out there Nordic walking. I'm not here to personally promote myself. And I've just had a look at the Sikana, and yeah, that is a video that I have seen, and I do think it's good. I do. I like it. I think it's very nicely done. So yeah, that's great. Do you know what country that is?
I think he's from France.
Yeah.
The instructor. Sikana, I think, is actually, I want to say it's an Indian company, but I'm not sure. I haven't really dug into it, but they put out a lot of knowledge videos, and this was one of them, one set.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, so as a general thing, I would say that's, you know, isn't it what, let's encourage more of us to put out some videos that can help people, because it really does support learning, I think, watching good instructors walking and explaining.
Yeah. Now, as we close up, Elaine, did you have anything you wanted to?
I did post something in chat. It's called the Nordic Walking Song. Have you heard of that? And that's my favorite video.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like those people, really, several of those people have really good form. And it just was helpful to me as a rather much of a novice here to actually see them walking. And I like the song. I do have one more burning question, and I've asked it before, but I can use more opinions. If you have senior citizens and somebody, like, say they get dizzy, their blood pressure drops unexpectedly, and they know they're going to fall, and they got the poles strapped to their wrists, is there any advice that either of you have as to what they should do at that point to avoid a fall?
Well, one way is just to get those poles straight up and down instead of at the classic Nordic walking angle. So now you have the poles straight up and down. Now you have 4 feet to stabilize yourself. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah. Somebody else said cross your arms in front of you, like, you know, the kind of roll fall. That's assuming that you're actually going to go down.
Yeah.
But I think I've tried to share that with the people that I've worked with, and so far I've just told them just use them like hiking poles. All of a sudden, just get those poles in front of you,
Right.
and brace, so
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best answer.
I would say that the number one concern for older adults is the fact that the straps that they are attached to the pole handle, and that is, that does make some people anxious. I would say that if somebody is prone to dizziness, then start with the Exostrider poles or equivalent, which are a strapless style of pole where you can still Nordic walk reasonably well. I would probably start that way with someone who was a nervous walker, or who was prone to dizziness, because the last thing you want is to have a fracture or an aggravated fall because you're attached to the poles.
The we do have a number of people in the group who use the poles put out by a company called Urban Polling, and that's the similar concept.
Yeah,
the handle has a ledge on it, and the ledge is what allows you to push down to exert force on the pole. Now, one thing which it seems counterintuitive, but if you truly are falling, and most likely you're falling forward, if you truly are, one of the things that I learned in martial arts training was to accept the fall, because if you put your hands out like that, just the impact of trying to stop the fall can damage your shoulders as well, and it has nothing to do with the poles. It could damage your shoulders. But if you accept the fall by kind of crossing your arms a bit, and then arching your back and turning your head, you'll be fine. That happened to me one time. I was actually in my garage, which has a concrete floor, and I missed a step in the garage and went forward. But instead of trying to block it, stop the fall, which would have injured me, I just accepted and turned my head and and arched my back, and I was fine. My hands stung from the impact, but I was just fine. And
well, a lot of seniors training in the UK is how to manage a fall, how to get, and also how to get back up off a fall. But so excellent. What you're saying is that so you can actually practice falling, and I'm not saying I'd recommend it, but there is definitely ways that you can look up on how to fall well if you're going down.
When I used to bicycle, I went for a lesson on bicycling in traffic, and one of the things that they taught was how to fall from a bicycle. If your bike's going down, that you do that same sort. You accept the fall, and you actually roll and kind of make your body small, as opposed to spreading out and maybe breaking your wrist. So it's the same sort of. It has some carryover there even to other sports, and maybe football players do that. I've noticed that they have you noticed that kind of will roll, when they fall.
Well, a roll is kind of the right way to do it, because you're dissipating the energy, you see.
Right, exactly, and that's what the bicyclers do. That they will roll, and I actually had a rather recent experience like that, where somebody a car didn't yield the right of way they were supposed to stop, and I had to stop my bike real suddenly. And actually, the way I dissipated the energy is I did a dance. I don't know what caused me to do it, because I don't even know how to dance, but I was dancing, and that kept me up because I kept changing my body position to keep my balance. My daughter was behind me, and I think she was really mad at the driver. But it was okay.
Good. Good. Okay. So on falling, also there are a lot of other organizations oriented towards the active agers, 50 years and up, and they teach fall prevention and those kinds of things. So by all means, if you think you do have some fall risk, take advantage of those courses that, well, in your community.
I would
Okay.
like that. I think I'm not so much worried about myself as I am some other people that would be in my group. Some that I have worked with, and that was a surprise to me as a person who was trying to help others. I just was really surprised that they had very little stability, and so as much as I want to help senior citizens, I want to do it the right way. I don't want to get somebody hurt.
Great. Vicky, any last thoughts?
Just in this country, and I think it comes from Australia, but it's called there's an Otago, Otago. I'll put it in the chat. If anybody is particularly wanting a falls prevention program, this one is very good. And as I say, it was developed in Australia. I think it's used in the UK.
Terrific. Great. Well, thank you very much for taking some time and joining and being part of this great conversation. And hopefully we'll be able to keep spreading the knowledge. And I'll be doing this again, different times of the day so that we can accommodate different time zones. But sure appreciate you all taking some time out.